If your back to school routine feels like a hostage negotiation with a math worksheet, this episode is for you because what looks like won't try is often a brain that can't yet. So here's the reality parents are up against right now. Nearly 1 in 10 kids in the US carries an ADHD diagnosis, and many more struggle with attention without a label. And these are CDC stats. 60% of middle schoolers and 90% of high schoolers don't get enough sleep to get their brains recovered and recharged like they need to. Sleep loss directly erodes attention, memory, and self regulation. The average child logs in around 7.5 hours per day of screen time, and older data shows half of kids multitask with TV or internet during homework, which shreds attention per the Kaiser Family Foundation. A realistic attention span is about age 2 to 5 minutes per task. A 7-year-old tapping out around 14 to 35 minutes isn't defiance, it's development. And the sneaky one, vision and hearing problems, especially eye tracking. This can masquerade as inattention, but estimates say that up to a quarter of kids have eye tracking challenges that drain reading stamina. So these are issues that are very, very real, right? This saccade problem and inability of the eyes to track the lines is a massive, massive issue. Stack those together, too little sleep, blood sugar roller coasters, constant pings, not enough movement, and sometimes an undetected sensory issue. And of course, 3 p.m. meltdowns totally make sense. Grade slip, confidence dips, family stress spikes. It's not a character flaw, it's a systems problem. The good news, attention is trainable, stamina is buildable, and the nervous system is regulatable. Today, you're going to get 3 things: clarity on the root causes, a step-by-step framework that you can start tonight, and where gentle chiropractic care and brain laser therapy, also known as transcranial photobiomodulation, fit. What the research suggests about autonomic balance, prefrontal cortex support, and cognitive endurance. If you're driving, don't take notes. The download link is in the description. If you're home, grab a pen. In the next 10 or so minutes, you'll know why your afternoons feel chaotic, what to change first, and how to build a calmer, sharper learner starting tonight. So let's hit the big 4. Number 1, what we need to understand about what's breaking focus is sleep debt. Sleep powers attention, memory consolidation, and impulse control. When kids miss sleep, behavior and attention issues rise dramatically per the CDC. School-age kids require 9 to 12 hours of sleep per night. Teens, 8 to 10. Most aren't getting anywhere close. Blood sugar swings are number 2. The brain runs on glucose. Sugary spikes lead to crashes, which lead to fog, irritability, and poor focus. Harvard Medical School notes that low blood glucose impairs attention and processing. Chronically high sugar intake isn't great for cognition either, not to mention the long-term issues of potentially leading down the path to diabetes. Number 3, sedentary days. Movement reliably improves executive function. It also improves working memory, inhibition, which is, if you have a child that's impulsive, it helps them to regulate their impulses. Mental flexibility. Even a single exercise bout can sharpen attention for the next learning block. This is per the Institute of Medicine. Number 4, overstimulation and stress. Constant pings coupled with academic pressure push kids into fight or flight. Short mindfulness practices can help kids recenter and pay attention. These are things that are you can find on Teach Starter and Reading Rockets. These are great resource sites for you. And plus, underlying hidden sensory issues. Eye tracking and mild hearing problems can look exactly like inattention. So screening matters if you have a child that is potentially struggling. So the mission is very simple. Fix the inputs, train the skills, calm the system. So what I'm going to work with you through is what is called the Calm Focus Framework. You can begin with this tonight. Say it with me. Calm Focus. Okay. The C stands for consistent sleep. If your kid's 6 to 12, target 9 to 12 hours of sleep per night. If they're 13 to 18, target 8 to 10 hours. Create a 30 to 60 minute screen time free window, right? You want this to be their wind down time. Dim the lights, have them do something to relax, like take a warm shower, read, or do an audiobook in a cool, dark room. They need time for the brain to just decompress. Protect the bedtime, even on weekends. Keep it as close as you possibly can. A, active body daily. Aim for 60 minutes per day of moderate, vigorous movement. During homework, do something as simple as insert 3 to 5 minute brain breaks every 15 to 25 minutes. Have your kid do jumping jacks, hallway laps, quick dance, body weight squats, push ups, something. A single activity burst primes attention for the next block. L, low glycemic fuel. What you want to focus on is putting in the right fuels for your child's brain and body. So for breakfast, right? So many kids have foods that are super high on the glycemic index. But if you get them going with protein and fiber, things like eggs, Greek yogurt, right? Oatmeal with nuts and fruit to keep the glycemic index low, great starter. After school, protein plus snacks, right? So you can have things like an apple and nut butter, cheese and carrots. What this does, this flattens the 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. crashes. You want to keep the blood sugar level throughout the course of the day so they're not having these constant up and down swings that'll cause them to go through all of these issues with their brain always having to switch energy systems, their brain going into fog, low energy. It creates all kinds of issues. M, mindful minutes. Before homework and bed, you want to have your child go through 5 cycles of belly breathing. This is inhale 4, exhale 4. Brief classroom mindfulness improves attention and behavior. So they can do this before they take a test, when they're getting ready to start work, homework, doesn't matter. These can be done anytime. Let's move on. F is filter distractions. Every child needs a dedicated study nook with the phone out of reach and all of their notifications off so they're not going to get the constant pings. Some kids, sound helps. So you can use white noise or instrumental music, because what ends up happening is if you have a lot of like music with lyrics, it can dramatically distract the brain. If a child is reading, and this is an important one, have them use a finger or a bookmark so that they can track smoothly. What this does, it encourages their ability to go and track east to west on the paper, helping smooth eye movements going line to line. Reading rockets actually suggest this. It's a fantastic tool because the ability to saccade in the right sequence is critical for brain coordination to go and learn how to go and read efficiently. O is organize and preview. Have them take 2 minutes to skim the headings, glance at questions, and then write a game plan. What order, what materials. The next one is C, Chunk+timer. Okay. Now with elementary kids, realistic expectation, 10 to 15 minutes on, 3 minutes off. And build to that if they're not there yet, right? Start with 5 minutes, then go to 7 minutes, then go to 10 minutes. These breaks are really important. We have unrealistic expectations oftentimes of having kids be able to sit there and do extended homework. If you have an elementary school kid, any longer than that, their brain is checking out. They need these breaks. It's critical for their ability to be able to go and maintain focus. Middle school and high school kids, 20 to 25 minutes, no more, before they take a 5-minute break. This is called the Pomodoro method. This is a really well-proven, super successful method. These short beats help their brain to be able to reboot and regain attention. Instead of doing marathon learning, the brain gets stressed, the brain fatigues, learning goes away, and all of a sudden, all that work they've done for nothing, they're forgetting, they're losing track. It becomes a non-starter, right? We want to focus on maximizing the time they're spending so the brain doesn't fatigue out. Okay, use brain games. Do things like Simon Says or concentration for working memory. Do puzzles, chess for planning, right? You can do things like teach back. Have kids explain one thing they learned to you to strengthen their retrieval. All of these things help to go and rebuild the strength of their brain's ability to go and do recall. S, scan for sensory and stress. One thing you want to think about is you may want to have vision and hearing checks if reading is painful or instructions just go missing. These are little things that you can get screened out pretty quickly, because a professional who knows how to evaluate for these types of issues will be able to go and detect it quickly and then get you on the right game plan. Also, make sure you log anxiety triggers. If focus stays poor despite these steps, consider ADHD and learning evals while keeping lifestyle upgrades. I'm going to give you a couple of bonus micro hacks that I think will be valuable. If your child is allowed in school, give them sugar-free gum. This can aid sustained attention on visual tasks. TeachStarter recommends this heavily. There's been a lot of other research studies that have mentioned the same thing. It's a great tool. We work with a number of different schools here in the Cleveland area, and many of the schools where they target working with kids with different learning challenges allow them to chew gum. I know a lot of public schools and things like that, it's an issue, but if your child's allowed, have them do this. Change locations between their blocks. Go from the table to the floor or move to some other type of an environment. Because what this does, it's just a small alertness bump, right? You change the brain by introducing novelty, new environment, new setting. Big deal. Next is outdoor time. So this is linked to better attention and lower anxiety. Lower anxiety. The Child Mind Institute really heavily recommends this. So I would suggest making this something that's a regular thing. So many kids get so limited outdoor time. Make it a really targeted focus, especially while the weather is nice right now. Get your kids outside as much as you can. Now, where chiropractic and brain laser therapy fit into this, I think is important. So first, right, the goal here is we want to have a nervous system that isn't stuck in threat mode. When the sympathetic drive is high, attention is going to be jumpy and fatigues fast. We want better autonomic balance and cleaner input called afferent. Afferent means input to the prefrontal cortex networks. The part of the brain that controls executive function lives right in here called the prefrontal cortex. This is when people talk about executive function, that is the whole region of the brain that controls everything that makes us executive. Focus, attention, our ability to self-regulate, impulse control, all of these things live right in these regions. So from the chiropractic care side, so gentle chiropractic care is usually helpful. Research in chiropractic neurophysiology reports changes in what's called sensory motor integration, prefrontal cortical processing, and autonomic tone. And we use things like an HRV in our practice to detect these. This allows us to be able to go and see if the autonomics are doing what they're supposed to, and if not, how to get it there. So following adjustments, mechanisms related to attention, coordination, all of these things show massive improvements, as well as calm. Practically, reducing mechanical stress and normalizing input can help to quiet overactive fight or flight responses and free cognitive bandwidth. So when kids or adults get adjusted, one of the things that everyone just reports back is they feel calmer and more dialed in. But the reason is because you're changing sensory input, sensory processing, and you're ramping up input into the prefrontal cortex area, along with other areas the brain needs to be able to function at its best. Brain laser therapy, also known as transcranial photobiomodulation. This is a big one. I've been absolutely blown away by how effective brain laser therapy is as a solo tool and as a combined tool. Here in my office, we combine chiropractic care with brain laser therapy for all of our children that are having any type of a neurodevelopmental challenge or many others. So photobiomodulation supports mitochondrial function. So there is this enzyme that's called cytochrome C oxidase. When we laser it with certain frequencies, it ramps up the activity in this enzyme, driving the mitochondria to produce more energy. This improves blood flow, neuroplasticity, and this is really core to attention and working memory. Numerous studies have shown massive improvements in cognitive enhancement, focus, attention, emotional regulation, and so on. Human studies using prefrontal transcranial photobiomodulation using different wavelengths have shown improvements in attention, working memory, reaction time, in randomized sham control designs. So they've also shown significant cognitive gains. And they've even shown when there are things like TBIs that there can be massive improvements in brain function, even if there has been injury. So when we've worked with a lot of the kids in our practices that have had issues with, attention, focus, all these things, we see massive improvements pretty rapidly, and far greater than what we would see when we were doing these as chiropractic by itself, because we're able to directly affect the areas of the brain that are underperforming by driving in blood flow, energy stimulation, and in training them with the right frequencies. Because brainwave patterns can be directly influenced by using laser light. So if you get a child in an alpha brainwave pattern, focus and attention naturally ensues. In the clinic, we use these targeted protocol-driven transcranial photobiomodulation things to support prefrontal circuits and to rebalance the autonomic tone, and then anchor the gains with sleep, nutrition, and focus training so the changes can really stick. So our 5-part process of how we do things here is we assess. We go through, we do our scans, and they're called the Insight Neuroscans, and it allows us to be able to go and assess the health of the autonomic nervous system through multiple different measures. Once we go through and we do our history and we do our exam, we do our assessments, then we develop a plan to adjust, which is we use gentle chiropractic using instruments to reduce sympathetic overdrive and normalize sensory motor input. Then we use brain laser therapy to support prefrontal regulatory hubs and cognitive endurance. And this allows the brain to be able to really deeply ingrain these changes while building up the strength and endurance of the areas of the brain that need to be supported for focus, attention, and otherwise. And then what you can do is then you can use things like the Calm Focus Checklist. And this allows you then to be able to take these things home and have a plan on what you're going to do on a daily basis. And then what we do is we periodically will do a recheck, and we'll do things like reevaluating our heart rate variability. We'll go through and use our other scans, the Insight neuroscans, to make sure the autonomic nervous system and the central nervous system are integrating all of the work that we've been doing. Now, what we're going to provide for you here is we're going to give you a 14-day quick start. So this is going to be printable for you, and it's going to go through things week by week so that you can have a plan on what you want to be doing. So it'll give you things like meal planning. It'll give you daily activities for after school, recommending things like 20 minutes of active play, talking about the homework blocks. And so you have the recommendations for the amount of time they should be studying before taking breaks, bedtime routines, things that obviously we would do in our clinic, things to do during the weeknights to go and stimulate brain function, weekend activities you can implement, so on and so forth. And then we're going to give you other tools here that you can bring in along the way to help your child, because the most important thing that you need at this point in time is resources. Now, one of the things that I want you to think about here when you're doing troubleshooting, because as kids are getting into school mode, right, we need to start looking at some of the things that we see and see what we can do to cut these off at the pass before school starts. So I'm going to give you a troubleshooting, quick hitting checklist. Number one, if you see that your child stalls at a task, start looking at shortening the blocks by 3 to 5 minutes. We talked about this before. Change the location. Start with a quick win in the task, right? Even if you have to shorten the block dramatically, do that. Because you need your child to also start feeling like they are building that endurance and becoming successful. Watch that afternoon crash. If you see that your child's having that crash, add in a protein plus snack at pickup, check their lunch quality, make sure that you're getting rid of high carbohydrate foods and going with protein dense, healthy fat, complex carbohydrate foods. If you have bedtime chaos, you can look at doing things like making making dinner earlier. You want to make sure that your kids are avoiding caffeine, especially later in the day. You want to make sure you've got the environment right. Lights down after dinner. Swap bedtime screens for audiobooks and breathing. If we find that next reading is painful, prioritize eye tracking drills. And this is what we talked about before, using things like the bookmark to read line by line, doing finger tracking, and if need be, get a vision evaluation. Sometimes that's an essential tool to find out if there is an issue with saccades. That can really help if that is an underlying issue. They can be retrained so your child can track the lines the way they're supposed to. If you see anxiety spikes, use a 60-second reset between subjects, right? Do the breathing we talked about. 4 in, 4 out breathing, and then 10 wall push-ups. Do things like wall push-ups just to get a little exercise, and then praise effort over perfection. This is a big thing, right? If we see there's a lot of stress around this, we want wins, not losses, so that we're changing the mental context around this. And let's redefine what success looks like, right? We want to see the wins starting to look like homework finished with fewer prompts, less friction. Teacher notes, right? Things like saying they're more on task, fewer reminders, better work completion. Mood steadier, right? So seeing fewer after school crashes. And then obviously, like even the objective things, seeing things like HRVs looking better, or improvements in eye tracking when you're getting rechecked with a vision therapist, or your child just saying, "Mom, Dad, I can focus longer." So this is common, and it's the compound effect of better inputs, trained skills, and a calmer system that are going to get the results for you. You really want to think about putting all these things together so that your child can get the maximum benefits. So I'm going to give you a quick call to action here, guys. Your next 3 moves are this. Number 1, download the parent guide here on our Substack page. Get the Calm Focus Checklist, the printable 14-day quick start guide in the show notes. Tonight, run 2 time homework blocks. Simple things like if you're starting to think about having to put homework in, run these timed homework blocks when your kids start school, and start seeing how these work, right? And add in the movement break and add in finger tracking during reading. Simple things that you can put into your day-to-day routine that will have rapid improvements. If you want a personalized plan with an assessment, gentle chiropractic care, and brain laser recommendations, you can always just message us here at our office. We're elitefamilychiros.com. You can message us here through the Substack site where the newsletter is housed, and we'll get back to you also to help you with any of the questions. And make sure you go to Substack. The link will be below, because all of the resources that we're going to give are going to live there. It's going to give you all the tools, all the resources, the full newsletter, along with the downloadable guides. Parents, listen, you got this. Fix the inputs, train the skills, calm the system, and we're going to continue walking with you the whole way, giving you all the resources that you need so that your child can succeed this school year. All right, guys, thank you for your time. This is Dr. Scott Haggerty signing off. We'll see you on the next one.